think that's quite a difficult question to answer, because you can say, you know, why violin, why double bass, you know. So in some ways it's quite an abstract question. But on the other hand, the saxophone, without a doubt, has a completely idiosyncratic sound. It's a very adaptable instrument, so it can create the most hauntingly beautiful lyrical lines, and I think I've made use of that quality in my piece Motorola. It's almost percussive. There's a very strong, you know, impact, and you know, if you use a strong tonguing technique, then you can create an almost percussive effect. And it's also got the capacity, as well as being lyrical, to be extremely humorous as well. It's the kind of instrument, because of the way the sound is produced, perhaps, that can easily, in some ways, I think, if you think of an instrument in the hands of a learner, of a novice player, in some ways that betrays the instrument's true qualities. So we all know what a violin sounds like in the hands of a young learner violinist. That terrible experience, you know, that most parents have experienced. And if you think about a saxophone in the hands of a young learner player, you'll get those kinds of erratic honking sounds that you know, I'm not suggesting that that's the basis of the instrument, but it kind of betrays something about its fundamental nature. So I think that continuum of lyricism, percussive quality, and the childlike sort of humorous nature of the instrument means that it's extremely adaptable. And of course, I mean, not everyone agrees with the idea that an instrument is a kind of surrogate human voice. But I think there's a lot to be said about that theory. And if the saxophone is a surrogate human voice, then it's a voice that's produced by a reed. It's a voice that is, unlike the clarinet, not a wooden voice, but a metallic voice. So it has these qualities that I'm trying to summarize, and in trying to summarize them, of course, I'm not going to get anywhere, except to say that I think it's an adaptable instrument and one that has many compelling qualities. I think it does make me think that that I probably haven't made as much use of the instrument as I should have done, or would like to. And I haven't written for saxophone for quite a long time. And I think that's probably more to do with circumstances than to do with the instrument itself, or any prejudice against the saxophone, which is not the case. I don't know. I think I have quite a strong affiliation with the environment we're sitting in here, in Kisos, in Pelion. And some of my earliest musical influences are from the Panegyri here and in local villages. So there's quite a strong, I have a strong, I wouldn't call it an interest even, it's just a sort of feeling that the irregular rhythms of the motika, musiki, are something that I find they're not irregular at all, actually. They're just about a certain sense of the way the body moves. So for saxophone, in my pieces, especially in Motorola, where there is a little section called choro, little dance, is making use of those qualities I mentioned before, a sense of percussiveness, a sense of playfulness and lyricism, but using the kind of rhythms that you would expect to find in Zebekiko or Hasapiko. So those dances, I'm not a student of those dances. I don't make an academic study of them. I just draw on the kind of rhythmic feel that I feel is in here somewhere, and bring that out in the sax quartet in Motorola. That I think that's quite strong. However, at the same time, because I'm not entirely Greek by any means, there are other kinds of pulsing music. So if we think about the mουσική being pulse-based, then other kinds of pulse-based music with maybe like minimalism or something like that. So in Motorola you'll get this kind of shift between something that's working in a kind of 5 sort of, or 7s, going into a so you get the kind of minimalist meets the panegyric kind of idea, and that's not a sort of, I'm not really consciously working those elements. I'm not sitting there thinking, a bit of minimalism now, a bit of panegyrio, but they just the things that spill out when I work. So the title Motorola is a reference to the jukebox, the Motorola jukebox, where, you know, press the button and something might come out, whatever that might be. So in some ways there's a bit of a surprise around in every 4 or 5 bars. There's a surprise to be had as someone presses the button and something else happens. I don't think I've made brilliant use of that concept, partly because I don't think I'm entirely driven by the full realization of a concept. I just want to create something modest, that has some of the qualities that I feel I have to offer. So in some ways, I guess I don't think of my work as extreme. It's not about realizing a particular concept to its ultimate realization. I think probably most of my music strives to connect with the everyday world, which, as we were speaking earlier, is an attempt to connect with very ordinary places, as opposed to maybe, I don't have a problem with the concert hall at all, but the concert hall is a bit like an art gallery. It's a sort of frame within which the piece happens. So I'm interested in when music connects with very, very everyday, ordinary places. So a marketplace, or a church, or a shop, or just very basic places. Now I think the idea there is not to reduce everything to the banal, but it's to try to suggest that the everyday is actually the best that we have. It's the maximum, the most ordinary is the absolute maximum reality that we have. It has everything that there is to have in it. And and I think music can, if it's situated in relation to the everyday, it can provide a little window into that sort of special quality of the everyday. And so I suppose it's a little bit of a pompous word, but if I said transcendent, so as a key word, so in some way to try to transcend the everyday. So when thinking about my music, that players or listeners might just think about how it tries in a very, very basic and a very modest way to provide a window into the transcendent. That this idea that the everyday is very big, even though we just look around, we see it every day, and we think, oh, that's just that, oh, that's just that. Actually, that is everything.